Welcome to the EatWellify podcast. Today we're going on a deep dive into a really interesting topic,
Oh, yeah.
foods that we might want to be
Yeah.
thinking a little more carefully about as we get over 50. Our guide for this exploration is 10 red flags, foods to avoid after 50.
Okay.
It's got some
I like.
really eye-opening advice for how to navigate those grocery aisles and
Yeah.
how to make choices that really support healthy aging.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's interesting, right? We often think about what we should be adding into our diets as we get older,
right,
but what we should
Right.
start being mindful of is equally important.
I agree with that.
It's not about deprivation, it's about making informed choices.
Yeah, and some of these red flag foods might surprise you.
Really?
Let's start with something that I think everyone loves, those crispy golden fried foods.
Oh, yeah. We all know that fried foods aren't exactly health foods.
Right.
But what makes them particularly tricky after the age of 50?
Well, the issue with fried foods, I think, goes beyond just the extra calories.
It does.
As we age, our bodies might not process fats as efficiently.
Yeah.
And those unsaturated fats that are so common in fried foods can contribute to digestive discomfort,
Okay.
weight gain, especially around the midsection.
So those extra calories, they kind of have a tendency to settle right where we don't want them?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
It's not just about the number on the scale.
It isn't.
Yeah.
No, over time, if we're consistently eating fried foods, it can increase the risk of things like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. It's a cumulative effect.
So moderation is key.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another food that requires careful attention, undercooked meats.
Yeah.
So while thorough cooking, it's always important.
Right.
Why does it become even more crucial after the age of 50?
Well, our digestive systems change as we age. The source points out that older adults may be more susceptible to bacteria that can be found in undercooked meat. Cooking meat to at least 160 degrees Fahrenheit makes sure that those harmful bacteria are eliminated.
That makes sense. So it's not just about the taste and the texture, it's about protecting our health.
Yeah.
What I found interesting is that the source suggests that even overcooked meat might be easier on our aging stomachs,
Interesting.
though maybe not as appealing to the palate.
Right.
It's a fascinating trade-off to consider.
Yeah, it speaks to adapting our cooking methods as we age.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're digesting and absorbing nutrients effectively.
Now let's talk about something I think that we all have experienced, that feeling of bloat after a salty meal.
Oh, yeah.
The source calls out high-sodium foods
Uh-huh.
as a major concern after 50.
Okay.
What makes sodium so problematic as we get older?
High sodium intake leads to fluid retention, which is why we feel puffy and uncomfortable after a salty meal.
Yeah.
But it's not just about that temporary discomfort over time. High sodium contributes to high blood pressure,
Okay.
which puts a strain on our hearts and our kidneys.
Wow. It's amazing how something as simple as salt can have such a significant impact on our health.
Right.
And the source points out that sodium hides in some unexpected places,
Oh, really?
like processed snacks, deli meats, even bottled salad dressings.
It's a reminder that we really need to read those labels.
Yeah.
The good news is that there are flavorful alternatives.
Okay.
Using herbs and spices instead of salt can add a burst of flavor without that sodium overload.
That's a great tip. I also love the suggestion of incorporating potassium-rich foods, like bananas and avocados. They can actually help to balance sodium levels in the body.
Nature's little helpers.
Now get ready for this, because one of the foods on this list might really surprise you: multigrain bread.
Multigrain bread. I know, right? It seems counterintuitive.
It does.
But the source explains that not all multigrain bread is created equal.
Okay.
Some of them are loaded with refined grains, added sugars, and preservatives, which negates any of the potential health benefits.
So it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Those sneaky refined grains can spike blood sugar levels,
They can.
just like regular white bread.
Exactly. It highlights the importance of being a really savvy label reader.
Yeah.
Don't just assume that something is healthy because it says multigrain.
Right.
Look for 100% whole wheat bread
Okay.
to get that fiber and those nutrients that you're looking for.
Great advice. Speaking of tricky labels,
Okay.
let's move on to another food that I think requires careful consideration, especially for those seafood lovers out there. Shellfish.
Shellfish.
Clams, oysters, mussels, all those delicious delicacies.
I love them.
While shellfish offers some nutritional value,
Yeah.
the source points out that the risk of food poisoning from these types of seafood increases as we get older.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I know.
Why is that?
It comes down to the potential for bacteria in raw or undercooked shellfish.
Okay.
And as we age, our immune systems may not be as robust as they once were,
Right.
making us more vulnerable to getting sick from those bacteria.
Uh-huh.
So does that mean we have to say goodbye to shellfish after 50?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The key is to choose cooked shellfish and make sure that it's prepared properly.
Okay.
But there are also some safer options if you're really concerned about the risk.
Okay.
Things like cooked fatty fish like salmon and tuna.
Yeah.
They provide those same omega-3 fatty acids with a lower risk of foodborne illness.
That's good to know. And for those looking for more detailed information on healthy eating after 50, a great resource is EatWellify.com.
Oh, yeah.
It's full of helpful tips, recipes, and guidance on making delicious and nutritious choices that support healthy aging.
I love that.
So,
Yeah.
all right, let's continue our exploration of foods that maybe deserve a closer look after 50.
Okay.
And this next one might surprise cheese lovers: unpasteurized dairy products.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Certain cheeses, like blue cheese brie and camembert, because they're unpasteurized, can harbor bacteria that might pose a risk for older adults.
So it's not that these cheeses are inherently bad. It's just that as we age, our bodies might not handle them as well
Yeah.
due to changes in our immune system and our digestion.
Precisely. And luckily, there's a whole world of delicious pasteurized cheeses out there
Yeah.
that are easier on the stomach.
Okay.
Cheddar, Swiss mozzarella, the list goes on.
That's good news for cheese enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about another food that might seem obvious,
Okay.
but I think it's worth reiterating: raw or undercooked eggs.
Yeah.
We all know about the risk of salmonella,
Yeah.
but is this a bigger concern after 50?
Yeah, older adults are generally more susceptible to foodborne illnesses. And salmonella is a prime example. So those raw eggs lurking in homemade mayonnaise, Caesar dressing, or even cookie dough can be a real hazard.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk. Sticking with cooked eggs is the safest bet. Speaking of hidden dangers, the source points out that prepackaged snacks,
Oh.
even those marketed as healthy, can be a sneaky source of excess sugar.
Yeah, the health halo effect. Those granola bars, breakfast cereals, and instant oatmeal packets.
Right.
That seems so convenient and virtuous,
Right, they seem healthy.
but often contain a surprising amount of added sugar.
It's amazing how much sugar is hidden in these seemingly healthy snacks.
I know.
And as we age, our bodies become less efficient at processing sugar,
Right.
which can lead to a whole cascade of health issues.
Absolutely. Blood sugar spikes, increased risk of fatty liver disease, type 2 diabetes, even heart disease.
So what are some healthy snack alternatives that won't send our blood sugar soaring?
Think whole foods.
Okay.
Greek yogurt with fresh berries, a handful of nuts, sliced veggies with hummus.
Okay.
These are all great options that provide sustained energy and important nutrients.
Those sound delicious and satisfying.
Yeah.
Now let's address the elephant in the room: convenience foods.
Uh-huh.
I'm guilty of relying on frozen dinners and microwavable lunches sometimes.
Yeah.
They're just so easy.
I understand the appeal.
Right. But the source sheds light on some of the less desirable ingredients often found in these convenience foods.
Oh, really?
What should we be looking out for?
Inflammatory oils, excess sodium. We're talking a double whammy of things that we're trying to limit as we get older.
Right.
And then there are the artificial colors, preservatives, things like nitrates and sulfites.
Nitrates and sulfites, those sound a little concerning.
They can be. These additives have been linked to various health concerns, from weakened immunity to increased risk of chronic diseases.
So while that frozen pizza or microwavable burrito might be tempting in a time crunch,
Yeah.
it's not doing our bodies any favors in the long run.
It's not. Investing a little extra time in cooking fresh meals at home with whole ingredients is a gift to your future self.
And remember, cooking doesn't have to be complicated.
Right.
There are plenty of simple, healthy recipes out there that are quick and easy to prepare.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about the last food on our list: high-fat dairy.
Oh.
Dairy itself is a good source of calcium, which is crucial for bone health as we age.
Yeah.
But what's the issue with the full-fat versions?
It all comes down to those saturated fats, which have been linked to an increased risk of various health issues,
Okay.
including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, even Alzheimer's disease.
Wow, that's a lot to consider.
Yeah.
So what are our options if we enjoy dairy but want to limit those saturated fats?
Opt for low-fat or non-fat dairy products.
Yeah.
Or if you're looking for alternatives, explore the world of plant-based milk, almond milk, soy milk, oat milk. There are so many delicious options these days.
And I've noticed that a lot of plant-based milk options are now fortified with calcium and vitamin D,
They are.
making them an excellent alternative. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
exploring a wide range of foods that deserve a little extra attention after the age of 50.
Yeah.
It's a lot to digest,
It is.
literally and figuratively.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like we're refining our food choices, along with everything else in our lives,
I love that.
as we enter this new chapter.
Yeah, and it emphasizes that these aren't drastic restrictions.
Right.
They're just shifts in awareness and priorities.
Absolutely. This deep dive has given me a lot to think about,
Yeah.
and I'm sure our listeners are feeling the same way.
Me too.
It's empowering to understand how our food choices
Uh-huh.
can directly impact our health and well-being as we age.
It's empowering, and it's never too late to make positive changes.
Right.
Small adjustments can make a big difference over time.
Speaking of positive changes, I want to remind our listeners about that fantastic resource we mentioned earlier, EatWellify.com.
Yes, EatWellify.com is a treasure trove of information on healthy eating after 50, including delicious recipes that are easy to prepare and that won't break the bank.
They make healthy eating feel approachable and enjoyable, which is so important.
Yeah.
And of course, what we've discussed today is for informational purposes only.
Right.
It's always wise to consult with your doctor or a registered dietitian for personalized advice.
Absolutely. Everyone's unique, and what works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
Seeking professional guidance is always a smart move.
Agreed. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into foods to be mindful of after 50.
Okay.
I hope you found this episode informative and inspiring.
I did.
Remember, it's never too late to make choices that support your health and vitality.
And remember, small steps lead to big changes. Start incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine, and you might be amazed at the positive impact it has on your energy levels, your mood, and your overall well-being.
Thank you for joining us on the EatWellify podcast.
It was my pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another insightful exploration.
And don't forget to visit EatWellify.com for more delicious and healthy recipes. The content on this website is for informational and educational purposes only.